Hey everyone, welcome back to the Living in Maryland channel where we discuss all things living here in the great state of Maryland. So if that's the kind of information that you are looking for, then you are definitely in the right spot. Today we are here doing a real estate market update here for our state of Maryland. And it's been a couple months since I've done one of these, so figured I would put something together to give everyone just kind of an overlook and an understanding of kind of where we are as we begin here the month of April in 2024. So if you were watching some of my videos when I was doing market updates over the last year or two, I was talking a lot about units sold being down. So just the overall number of homes, the overall number of units in the real estate market just being way down. It was very common last year to see double-digit numbers in almost every county within Central Maryland being down from the year previous. So we were seeing numbers like down 15 to 20% from the year previous all of last year. So those are big numbers, just overall number of real estate transactions being way down. Today, we're at a roughly 5%. So it's still down, but it's hopefully kind of reaching that bottom. So we're still seeing those numbers as far as overall number of transactions being down, but it is hopefully getting close to bottom as we start getting into the lower, single digits here in that. So that's kind of a major factor because it's always tied in, when that number is down, when overall transactions are down, it just is a huge contributing factor to the low inventory that we've been experiencing over the last few years. And then creating, that competition. There's a lot of things that go into that, but that's a big one. So hopefully we'll start to see that, tick up as we head into the spring and as we see things just, starting to level off and people get more, used to the current market, interest rates and all those sorts of things. So just wanted to let you know what that looked like as hopefully we start to see a turn in regards to overall units and transactions happening here in our real estate market here in Maryland. All right, a couple other things that I wanted to hit on is months of inventory. Now, this is our absorption rate, right? So how quickly are homes, selling and what does that look like in our marketplace? We're at 1.5 months of inventory. Anything under 3 months of inventory means that it's a pretty heavy seller's market. It means that homes are going to be selling fast. And that's still the market that we are in here, especially in Central Maryland. The next thing that I wanted to mention is our days on market is right around 15, and this is similar to where we were at this point last year, so 15 days on the market. Now, to be honest with you, I think it's for a lot of markets and a lot of zip codes, it's lower than that. I mean, still, I was going to get to this in a little bit, but still, most homes, if they are priced right and they are turnkey and show well, are getting multiple offers and selling within the first 4 to 7 days. So, although Maryland as a whole might be 15. Just be aware that a lot of those high demand zip codes, a lot of those high demand kind of mini markets within Maryland are going to see a days on market lower than that. Next, we are seeing still appreciation in real estate values according to the Maryland Association of Realtors. So we've got average home price in Maryland across the board up 5.2%. We've got median home price across the board in Maryland up 6.2%. So crazy with all the inflation going on in kind of all industries, still seeing prices of homes go up, which is it's just crazy to see. But that's what we're seeing here in Central Maryland. So if you are looking to buy a home, just all things to be aware of. If you're looking to sell a home, still, there's never been a better time right now. Still, compared to the number of buyers out in the marketplace, far, far, far exceed the number of willing and able sellers in the marketplace, so that the market is just still in the seller's favor. So a couple things to be aware of depending on which side of the fence that you are on. A lot of people will be on both, but just something to be aware of if you are determining or thinking about stepping into the real estate market. All right, and then as of the close of business yesterday, as mentioned, we're in early April here. We were looking at a 30-year fixed conventional mortgage right around 7.05. Now, the resource I follow, it pulls from several banks across the country, just kind of average these out. Now, when it comes to interest rate, I just want to kind of put a full disclosure out there is these can vary depending on lender and especially depending on consumer profile. So, there's probably never been a more important time in a market to really have a good thorough pre-approval and working with someone that you're comfortable with who's going to be going to bat for you and getting a good competitive rate for you when you're working with a lender. So that's something to be aware of too when you're talking to lenders and kind of exactly what that looks like. So just being aware that that's the national average right now. If there's a lower credit profile, it might be higher. If you've got, strong credit, low debt to income, things of that nature, you could, very likely see a little bit of a lower interest rate on a 30-year fixed conventional. I don't see a lot of people do 15 and 20-year terms as far as mortgages, but if you do, you're going to see those rates come down. And then your FHA and VA 30-year fixed rates are right around 6.5% right now. So typically you see right around a half a point, difference between which is your Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, conventional loans, and then your government loans, which is your FHA, VA, USDA, something like that. And I'm not exactly sure why. I'm sure it's pretty complex and a lot of reasons, but I guess it's just a difference in the way that they're insured, right? So FHA insured by HUD, conventional insured by Fannie and Freddie, which are, I'm not exactly sure. I think they're private entities, but the government's involved in some capacity with overseeing those. So, just differences in the way they're insured. So there's some differences in rates, but still, when you're looking at having really strong credit and putting, some sort of a significant deposit down as far as a down payment, conventional seems to be the better route for most people because you avoid the upfront fees, which saves you a lot. And then you get minimized and lesser of private mortgage insurance. So just kind of being aware, looking at all angles, just because the rate's lower doesn't necessarily mean that the overall cost and that the payment will be lower. So just kind of things to keep in mind as you're looking at all angles of this and determining what might be the best fit for you. But that's kind of where we're at with interest rates. Interest rates continue to kind of move, daily. They always have moved daily, but ever since, in the last few years, they just kind of have bigger swings, bigger movement on a day-to-day and a week-to-week basis. So just kind of keeping up to date with that kind of stuff, if you are thinking about buying or selling a home, can be very helpful. And even if you're selling, right, like you may not need a mortgage, but all the buyers walking through your front door to look at your home are dealing with this, and it can have an impact and have a factor of what demand is going to look like for your home. All right, and then last but not least, wanted to go over a couple things of how to stand out if you're, and this is kind of a little more specific to buying, since the market is definitely more challenging on that side of things right now. So how to stand out. Maybe some things to think about, since the market remains, at least at this time, very competitive here in Central Maryland. So one thing I wanted to mention was new construction. So if you're willing to, if maybe the price point, that you're looking at allows where there is new construction inventory there in your price range, that's something to consider. Now, it's crazy. A couple years ago when the market was just insane, right? Even new construction was setting offer deadlines. They were letting people bid and do all this kind of crazy stuff. It was nuts. But new construction has kind of come back down to its normalcy, what it normally does, and that is on a first come, first served basis. So whether you're using conventional, FHA, VA financing, that stuff, it's not really a factor in getting your offer accepted. So new construction can be a great way to avoid the hustle and bustle of the resale market, where a lot of times you're dealing with 2, 3, 4 plus offers on a home. I saw a 575 home, I think it was 580 actually, in Howard County. Got 20 offers. This is just a week and a half ago. And my guess is that home's going to end up somewhere around 625, closing. So a lot of times, looking at this thing, it's not always that every property is going to get 10 to 20 offers. A lot of times it depends on where the list price starts. If the true value is X and they start, 20K below X, then it's going to look like everything's crazy, even though they're just kind of coming right back up to where it just, should have been in the first place. So a lot of times doing some due diligence ahead of time on the price can help if you're stepping into the resale market. Now, a couple things as far as strategy. So I highly recommend this is a tough market to kind of wing it in if you're a buyer. So strategizing with your realtor upfront it can be very, very, very helpful. If you're not working with a realtor, that's what I do here in Central Maryland full time, 7 days a week. So if you ever have any real estate questions, please feel free to reach out. Would love to strategize and kind of help you navigate this market as far as what's working, what you're comfortable with, what you're not, so you can just know exactly what you're dealing with in this market. So feel free to reach out anytime, but really having, strategy sessions going into this market can be extremely helpful. So you know exactly what you're capable of and what you're willing to do, on these properties that oftentimes are still getting multiple offers. So there's a few things that you can do that don't necessarily have to cost you, dollars and cents out of your pocket. And I wanted to share a couple of those. One is, instead of just doing traditional inspections where you're reserving the right, you're telling the seller that you're reserving the right to inspect the property, negotiate repairs and or credits, and walk away if you're dissatisfied in any capacity. Instead of doing that, kind of stripping down the credits and repairs aspect as far as the negotiation, and just saying that you are going to inspect and still reserve the right to back out, but it's cleaner. You're telling the seller that you're not going to ask them for repairs. A lot of times sellers are a little fearful of getting asked for a lot of cosmetic things and having to deal with repairs. So that can kind of clean up the offer if you're willing to do that. And of course, we could dive into much deeper strategy when it comes to things like that. But that's just kind of something to consider. Two other things to consider. One is using a local lender. A lot of times the listing agent who is representing the seller's best interest and fighting for every penny for the seller, a lot of times they're going to want to do due diligence on behalf of the seller. They're going to want to call the lender and be able to reach the lender and just kind of ask some surface level questions. Hey, how are the debt to income ratios? Have you actually collected documents, income documentation, verified savings that's going to be used towards down payment and things of that nature? Have you actually looked at credit and run what's called a DU, an automated approval, and just kind of and gotten that automated approval up front? So, and it's very important. A lot of times these listing agents want to do that, understandably so. And it's really hard if it's maybe a out of state, call center type lender, and they can't be reached on the weekends, they can't be reached after 5. So not that it's the end of the world, but it's just something to maybe consider, where if the lender is more accessible and can give the listing agent and the seller, the warm and fuzzies and kind of the basic information that they need to give that seller confidence in your offer, that can go a long way. And then last but not least, when it comes to no cost ways of strengthening your offer, is I always like to, for my buyers, is get some information about your work situation, a little bit about your life, and share that with the seller. So we're really not allowed to do like love letters anymore, but sharing information with that listing agent to pass along to the seller can go a long way. How long have you been in the industry? How long have you been at your job, and just kind of what, why you love the home, right? Things like that, where we kind of present it not in an official love letter capacity, but we build that into the offer, and just give that seller, a little bit of background so they can have a little more comfort level moving forward, and giving them confidence to jump on your offer. Because I'm telling you right now, most buyers do not do this. They're just submitting the offer, and just a lot of it's kind of just, guesswork. You're just kind of wondering, okay, I wonder how solid they are. I wonder how long they've been at their job. Can they really close and go the distance on my home? These, a lot of times, are thoughts that are going through sellers' minds. So a few things to think about that can go a long way in my experience, when you are submitting offers on properties. Okay, and then a few things to think about that do cost money as far as strengthening your offer that I have seen be very successful in this market is escalation clauses. Escalation clauses where you start at a certain price, but you're telling the seller that upon proof of a higher offer than yours, that you will beat that offer by a certain amount, but you set a cap. So it's not just completely wide open. So it can allow you to start at a lower level while still remaining to be competitive if there's other offers that are stronger than yours, but you do set that cap. So an escalation clause can be very useful. There's also, some seller fees that if you have some extra cash at your disposal, that we can talk about different ways of structuring that and possibly covering that can go a long way when you're competing against other offers. So all things that really, can help go a long way. So again, strategizing prior to stepping into writing offers and into this market can be very, very helpful. Again, thank you so much for joining us for this market update video. If you ever have any real estate questions, would like to strategize and see exactly what going into this market as a buyer or a seller would look like for you, feel free to reach out anytime that works for you. I'm available 7 days a week, and we look forward to seeing you at the next video.